gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Game Dev Unchained, the #1 podcast and video show about game development and the lifestyle of game developers. Bringing you this wonderful show is obviously myself, Mr. Larry Charles, and the writer responsible for the first 3 episodes of R. Kelly's Trapped in a Closet, Mr. Brandon Pham.
What's up? I am out. This is Brandon Pham. Welcome to another episode of Game Dev Unchained and welcoming us.
Yeah.
This is a Glassdoor confession. It's been a while, and without fail, developers or game development studios are still
having some struggles.
Still hurting themselves. Yeah. Man, I gotta put that off.
Who are we Glassdooring today?
All right, we're Glassdooring a company that is much beloved. It's been a while. Been around for a long time. And it is, of course, Epic Games, right? Epic Games have been with us for over 20 years. They provided all the tools and management. Whole career.
I owe being here to Epic Games and Unreal Tournament too.
Yes. And
actually, Unreal Tournament.
Unreal Tournament, right? So I did touch Unreal Tournament 2004. That's my first time actually playing an Epic game. But it was really Gears of War where I finally start to respect them as a game developer.
Well, for me, it was because it came with Unreal Ed 2.0.
There you go.
And I was able to make mods and little maps for Unreal Tournament. And so that's where I had a lot of fun being a level designer.
So they've been around a while. And to be fair, right, all companies go through their crunching period. But what we hope is that, at least in the early days, I saw something with Blizzard too, right, where companies like in the early days of Blizzard, Morheim, one of the co-founders there, mentioned how it was impossible for them to succeed without early days of crunching, but it also they grew from that to become the megalith they are and to realize that it's not sustainable. But that's something that I feel like, yes, there are early mistakes, but as a company has grown and is able to kind of look at other methods to kind of deal with production schedules, that hopefully they have advanced to better work-life balance, right? Yeah. So it was appalling. It was appalling that we read this article months ago. Months ago, we haven't done a Glassdoor confession on Epic Games, and this one is one of those expose articles that I felt weirdly got swept under the rug real fast, right? Because most of the other ones from Kotaku, like Riot Games, Telltale Games, all the huge ones, even with the Mass Effect team, the BioWare guys, like every single one that pointed the finger and shook it at a company had to come out with some type of public response about how they're going to do better and how they're going to start changing things and basically answer to the mob. Right, Epic somehow came out of completely unscathed. Like there was no real public response, there was no real accountability on their side, and it was insane. It was like back to business. I felt like a couple of days later. It was really fast, man. I didn't really see too much of a ramification. What was your perspective?
Well, interestingly enough, and I have to dance this tightrope quite well out of respect for professional colleagues, but then also my own personal career and who I've worked with. But I worked.
Disclaimer. That's your disclaimer.
That's my disclaimer because I actually worked on Fortnite helping Epic on creative mode.
Yes.
They hired the company that I was working for to just do some work. Provide some content and resources for, I think at the time it was creative mode. It was before it was announced.
Right.
And so, I got to see behind the curtain a little bit. Yeah. And I guess from where I stood was the people were working hard. No one that I dealt with was unpleasant. Everybody was everyone trusted each other and they knew that there were tall tasks ahead. But from where I sat, it seemed like a team of at least proud and motivated developers, even under serious constraints. Yeah. I will say there was a person that I worked with probably more often than the rest of the team that I knew that he was probably I felt bad cuz I would be up late doing my own thing,
still
right?
There.
But and I'd send an email just because I was oh, let me send this, it's on my mind. And then I'm getting a 2 a.m. response what the fuck are you still doing?
Yeah,
working. And in the letter it's oh, I'm just doing this or I'm just doing that. And in my mind
and they're on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah, on the East Coast.
So even later.
I was dude, go home. Yeah. So my heart went out to the team all while I was working with them, I'll say. Yeah. I didn't get like any sense of like disgruntlement though. So like, even though I feel like sure the people's faces were to the grindstone, I didn't perceive personally, and this isn't politics, this is just complete honest, and if I get in trouble for this, then I get in trouble for this. I didn't perceive anybody who was like disgruntled or who like was about to say fuck this shit.
Yeah.
But I could tell that like they were always under the gun.
The blow is definitely easier to crunch on a successful game. Mm-hmm. Because then there's public justification, and then privately there's money in your pocket. There's some bonuses right there.
Or there was things that
so there's a justification that comes with it with successful products when you crunch on them, right? So the only thing when it comes to a problem is when you're on a shitty game, you're crunching and you're kind of promoting shitty practices that isn't working, right? That's when you start to be disgruntled. Like, we know people that work there personally. I went to visit in North Carolina just recently, right?
Oh, nice.
And then the people there are genuinely, yes, the guys that I talked to actually had to move right to North Carolina, as most employees have to when they're at Epic Games, right? They're not from North Carolina usually, right? They're from out of town. Yeah. And it is a rough place to live in if you're used to other things.
It's rough to go from California to Carolina.
Yeah, that's a huge move.
That would be a tough one for me.
That's a tough move. Yeah. But, like, looking at the condition...
Our part of California.
Yeah, of where the industry is, right? Epic Game is one of those, like, made men, bulletproof type of studio that you're going to be a part of something great. And, it's easier now, right? Because Fortnite is the greatest game that every game is kind of trying to emulate.
They're the new World of Warcraft.
They are the new,
like, I'm seeing that cycle all over again.
Yes. And so they're fumbling while they're running, right? Trying to catch up to what they accidentally fell into. This worldwide phenomenon where every celebrity, athlete talk show host is kind of referencing them in everyday conversation. It's a game that has broke the mold into public awareness, right? There hasn't been a game like that forever, right? Maybe the latest was Pokemon Go, but Fortnite took that and like 100 times it, right? In terms of revenue stream, in terms of everybody's conversation. And so a similar issue to what Steam has is they're a small company, right? At first, when the Fortnite thing broke out, they're growing. They're probably over 1,000 by now, and they're constantly growing and trying to hopefully remedy this crunching problem to kind of keep up with their success. A problem that has been illustrated by other renowned developers like Respawn when Apex became a very similar route, like a mega success, day 3, week 1, week 2, tens of millions of counts, 25 million accounts. Like, these are the type of announcements that we saw. The growth rate was actually a little faster than Fortnite at the same time frame. The sustainability was gone quickly because the season passes, right? I don't buy in about how they bought. They did, right? They did buy advertising into streamers, sure. The interest is there, but it was a solid game by well-known developers, right? So the sustainability is partially that, but mostly it was a good game. They made a conscious decision not to do the Fortnite formula where they would hire more and keep their guys and gals in the office to meet the demands, right? Supply the demands. So that was very respectable, and I feel like it's a weird position that Epic is at because they are in the front lines of something truly great, like once in a decade type of project, right? It becomes like a weird morality thing. It's like, do we want to keep this up? We're the only ones that have been doing this, have faced these problems. We want to stop the gravy train, and it's very easy to kind of judge them on that. So as a developer, I'm kind of weird. Like, it isn't a clear case to me as like Activision laying off 800 people or BioWare crunching people for a terrible game, right? This is like kind of the opposite. It's a good game, and they're the first and only right now that is dominating the market with this phenomenon in a way where we're looking at Super Bowls and they're doing the dances, you know? There's no game like that.
Yeah.
Ever.
They're cultural.
And the cultural phenomenon is like crazy impactful.
They will be in history books as the like, remember in 2018?
Exactly. I don't even know if there's going to be another game that's going to be able to do that. Not really, right?
Not anytime soon.
Not anytime soon.
Fortnite's going to be dead and gone before we get this level of like global adoption for a product like that. So it'll be a while.
To look at it as a developer working on the game,
yeah.
To look at it as Tim Sweeney as the boss of the company, looking at that, it's like, this is justifying what we're doing here. We are changing history, and this is the sentiment that the greats share. Like, you look at Elon Musk and how the most common question that he gets is like, how the fuck are you doing all the things that you're doing, running 3+ companies and being able to have time? And his, he always gets shitted on like, there's no great things, or what was his quote? You can't achieve great things without crunching, essentially, is what he's saying. I'm paraphrasing, of course. Sure. But he's saying that no great things have been achieved from 9 to 5.
Well, I also look at his strategy and say, though, that like, but we see a shift in focus, right? Like, we'll see, he's doing a thing with the Boring Company, and then he wanes there and he goes like, now SpaceX is doing a thing, and now he's back to promoting a Tesla thing. So it's like these companies are set up. Yeah. And he kind of bounces. I feel like he bounces from like, I'm on this project. Okay, that one's done. Right. I'm back over here on this project.
Yeah,
I'm back over here on this project.
Some crazy detail management going on. It's a juggling thing for sure. But like anybody that is at that level would always justify, crunching is cool. I think that has direct hands-on, right?
I think you can be successful without crunch. I think crunch, the reason why there's crunch is because we have incredible high expectations. And this
low
driving,
resources.
Exactly, this like driving bottom line, saving ideal business kind of mindset that it doesn't have to be that way. Like, people want the best they can make for as cheap and as quick as possible. Yeah. And it is like really taking quality of life out of the people responsible for making those things.
Yeah. Well, it's called Glassdoor Confession. Yeah. So in tradition, we take a look at a company Glassdoor reviews, and we dive deep. And in this case, there are articles attributed to the company's recent success and failures. Mm-hmm. We go through that paragraph by paragraph, give our thoughts, and then we have a conclusion at the end, if it's true or not.
So from here, some basics I want to dive into. Recommend to a friend, 70%. Approve of CEO, 90%. Way to go, Epic and Tim. Those are good marks in my opinion.
Those are good marks, and actually believable marks.
Yeah.
Right. See, I think nobody can argue that Tim Sweeney is like doing a lot of crazy things on the tool side for developers, and on the gamer side, it's like for them to turn around and have one of their like renowned designers kind of walk away, right? Cliffy B, with Tencent kind of buying stake and buying a lot of people out, right? And then them having like a somewhat danger project like Paragon and what Fortnite was before, right? They were like slowly disappearing as a developer in terms of respect, right? Yeah. Because they sold off their Gears of War license. They were really betting on Paragon, more so I think on Fortnite. Fortnite was a 6-year development time. Paragon, even though they look it back and say that, hey, it was successful for what it is, those are millions of assets that they released for free later.
The best thing about Paragon is the fact that they released the assets for free on the asset store. I'm sorry, from a game design perspective.
Have you played it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it was. Was it trash?
I would not attempt the traditional MOBA strategies or like game design with shooting, because shooting is like, I'm looking at something, it's within my reticle, I'm expecting to be able to do damage with it. Yeah. Because of MOBA's isometric view, you can actually see distance ranges and make sense of like what you're doing, how you're doing it. And that game heavily relied on the shooting mechanics, which meant that like
the camera perspective is just wrong for that type of game.
It's a difficult sell for what a MOBA is.
Okay.
I think that the traditional tower defense attack to the core MOBA style, hard to do with shooting the way that Paragon tried to do it. And then also there was like not really a believable fantasy world, or not necessarily believable, but not a fantasy world that I was excited to invest in.
Right.
I think that I didn't get any sort of significant hooks or relationships with any of the characters or gameplay that
That's the sense that I got. It was confusing. The same way that Fortnite was confusing, right? If Gears of War shooters are like the most applicable to any gamers to see a trailer or a screenshot. It's like, yeah, I want to buy that game. Fortnite was a step below that. It's like, what is it? The mechanic? You got to build forts and then you fight zombies. Like, you can't expect Fortnite originally to sell better than Gears of War franchise, right? And that was the route they were going down as they were testing it out. Nobody was really playing or was super excited. It was a novel idea. It was nice, but it wasn't like gonna sell off the shelves like the way it was.
The main thing that I'm seeing in my own experience in Fortnite Save the World was just that, like, the zombies I was fighting against were not really the greatest AI enemies to fight against. Yeah. So the skill cap enjoyment for me being good or being shitty at that game is like really small. Yeah. Like, to be good at that game took maybe an extra 15 minutes of trying out a couple of guns. Yeah. Versus being a brand new player with any sort of skills you carry over from another game, you would probably be very competitive in that game. And what made things difficult was just more zombies, right? Yeah. With Fortnite itself, the skill cap potential is so much more vast because you're playing against nothing but other human players at all times who have different strategies, who have evolving strategies, who have team tactics, who are cheating, who whatever. Yeah. You being good at the Fortnite like battle royale part, way different skill. And so because of that, I can see why more people, especially now where it seems like every game is like competitive, we love doing something better than someone and then telling them that they're worse than us. Like, that is the magic formula for game design right now. Yeah. Fortnite gave you so many more opportunities to really enjoy what it feels like modern game players are doing right now in droves, which is showing that they're better than people and then rubbing it in. Yeah, which was way better of an experience sell to me than just being marginally better or having better weapons, and we're defending this fort, putting some traps, and just killing the zombies that come after us. Stage after stage after stage after stage. Yeah,
it was a hard sell, and so they were in a period where they had two of these flops, right, about to happen, and the Unreal Engine, they were in a period where a lot of these, kind of like what Steam is going through, right, third-party game publishers are leaving with their game to create their own marketplace. Unreal faced a similar issue, right, where third-party developers were creating their own engine. EA, Ubisoft, all these mega companies that used to support Unreal Engine were leaving, kind of doing their own. So their customer base wasn't as big on the Unreal Engine front, right? And so they were faced with all these issues, and it was a really, I feel like, a dark period for Epic to kind of turn things around. And man, did they turn things around, right? Now they have the enterprise sector. There's a lot of games that are coming out using Unreal Engine now. That are mega franchises, right? Mm-hmm. So at the same time, Fortnite, right? They were able to come up with an idea. Yeah. That was battle royale. Only done once before, but they were able to figure that formula.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, even having a personal experience there, I'm still gonna give them shit for like the rollout of their version of battle royale and like what was battle royale versus, or what was generally accepted battle royale canon and what was PUBG specific game ideas. Yes.
Yeah. They'll never look back. They'll never look back. It's a move that they will say it was $1 billion move and it was all profit, right? So with this rating up from the bat, yes, I can see how there's a high respect for the leadership there. Mm-hmm. I'm actually kind of surprised how low their ratings are on everything else. But we'll dig into it. So right now, I usually like to filter it from we'll read one on the top, right? The top. All right. So great benefits. Okay. Good management. Ability to. Oh man, I gotta up this font. Yeah. I can't read it at all.
I can take a stab at it. Okay. Great benefits, great food, good management, and ability to climb the corporate ladder in 10 reviews. Let's see. Yeah, if you want to increase that. I'm straining. Mouse. It's on your right screen. There you go. All right, cool. Cons, decent amount of crunch during certain points in the year. In 6 reviews, work-life balance at times was difficult to manage. That feels honest. That feels honest without being like disgruntled. And I'm not going to protect Epic here. Obviously, this is Glassdoor Confessions. We're reading other people's words. But I can read that and feel like that's honest. You know what I mean? And I also will caveat that, again, this is Glassdoor Confessionals. A lot of times when things go right, people don't say anything because that's what they expected. Yeah. and people are incredibly vocal when things go wrong. So
Yeah.
we take that with a grain of salt. But to see like this level of honesty, I actually feel like that's honest.
All right, here's a certain level of honesty that I like, right? So, wonderful.
Five on everything.
5 on everything. I've been working at Epic Games full time for less than a year, so these are probably the new hires for.
You probably know this person.
Yeah, people-centric, sophisticated, top talent, no egos. Yeah,
I'd agree.
long hours will be counter-effective to the work-life balance. How can you get 5 stars when you have a complaint?
I think that's the only thing, right? If you go on the 5 stars, top left.
Top left.
And it shows, yeah. So the only thing that he took a hit on was
see.
work-life balance.
I see.
Happy to do my best.
Yeah, all right. Let's go
Ash
to...
Ketchum works at Epic.
All right, let's go over most recent. I want to see the latest and greatest. All right.
The more people they hire, the better their review scores are going to be because you have a bigger workforce to start balancing off.
Yeah.
Hopefully. More to manage for the production team, but I can imagine that for the content creation team, like, sweet, I'm on this week, and then next week you're the guy that's on, but we're both environment artists, or we're both prop artists, or we're both.
Let me go back.
I guess what scares me about being in Epic's position right now is like when Fortnite starts to wane, right? That point is going to come at some point. I don't know when it is, and I don't know how fast they can expand, and I hope that they can continue to carry this many people, but let's assume they don't have something else in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
They have grown to such a size with so many developers, right? That like the downfall might be, well, time to start cutting some fat.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that scares me about
It
growing
does
so big
scare me.
so
Growing
fast.
so big, so fast. Fortnite is already showing a sharp decrease, right? We're talking about hundreds of percentage of viewership and players, right? So I don't know what the next few months will look like because, like you said, there's a certain time in the game design of a product where the gamers just lose interest, and there's not enough seasons in the canon to win that back because people do move on eventually.
Yeah,
or at least like it's gonna wind down to level out. Yeah,
I think Fortnite's gonna be fine. Even like 10 years from now, I could see something out of this Fortnite thing is still gonna be around 10 years from now. Will it be as big as original Fortnite's Battle Royale? I don't know. I'm not going to make that prediction. My hope is that they take the Mario approach and start like
branching out.
Fortnite is a universe that has experiences in it other than Battle Royale.
That's where they need to go.
That's
where they need to go. I'm pretty sure that that has to be what's being talked about.
Let my models and skins.
Where's the Fortnite show, dude?
Exactly. Power a different game.
Go to different mediums. I'm surprised there's no toys.
They are toys.
There are toys?
I was at the grocery store.
Oh, you saw it?
Honey Nut Cheerios.
All right. Well, I'm surprised there's no Netflix show. Where's the shows?
I didn't think that they would make a Fortnite toy because it was action figure, like G.I. Joe size. And I'm like, I think the kid who you're trying to aim that toy at would rather have the skin in the game than
the toy itself.
The toy. Unless the toy came with the skin. That would have been cool.
Toy to life, man. So it's a cult. You'll love it or hate it. I believe that.
Wow.
I worked at Epic Games for full 3 years. Best in class talent. It sounds like Conjury. Working on world's best technology. Amazing, generous.
Whenever you hear
benefits.
best in class, it's always gonna be reference to Conjury.
The cons are the company is a personality cult. The CEO isn't himself really driving it, but the president obsesses over everything and has created an organization-wide paranoia.
Damn.
Oh, man, I want to know more.
Relax and enjoy your success. Don't make everyone live in fear. Wow.
Well, I mean, like...
That's interesting.
It's true, right? When you have so much power as a company to say that you don't want to be a part of this success, we don't need you. We can replace you at any second. You don't think people will move to North Carolina and sit in your chair right now? Mm-hmm. You either crunch or your contract won't get extended. And that's the move, right, that I've been hearing a lot. It's like everyone gets on as a contract basis, and we'll review you in 6 months. And depending how much you want it, code as in crunch.
How far in can I ram it before you
you'll either have the job or not, and these are the bonuses that we give out, take it or leave it. And that is so much power on the employer side. To kind of
if that was the tactic,
leverage,
and maybe it is, I would imagine it would be a lot less than a 90% approval rating, unless only 10% of the people didn't go all the way through. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. It's hard for me to see.
Well, I mean, you have this culture. I mean, this is what it's speaking to. Like,
sure.
You have everyone kind of buying into this,
yeah.
And you'll look and feel bad if you go home early. I mean,
Oh yeah, I see that. 100%.
You see that there's a pressure,
right?
Yeah, but this is a pressure that you and I are familiar with unsuccessful studios. Mm-hmm. To see this at the very top, man, at the most, not just the #1 game of the year, #1 game of the century, man.
Yeah.
It's just disheartening to know that even with success, there is always greed. Mm-hmm. To push you over the edge where there's a problem with work-life balance when you can definitely afford it, mm-hmm. right? And so this is where it's like, yes, they are at the front lines of doing something very new, right? This is not just like another Call of Duty or whatever, right?
Yeah. This
is new. This is a new phenomenon. They're rolling with the punches. They're hiring as much as people mm-hmm. as possible, but there's a toxicity within the studio now that you're expected to crunch, and everyone already signed up to say yes, and now you don't have a say. You're in North Carolina. You're in the middle of North fucking Carolina.
That's the hard part, man. It's like if you relocated down there, that 6 months you weren't thinking about 6 months when you signed that. You were thinking about 2-3 years.
Yes,
at a minimum. And that's when you get got, man.
That's when you get got. But even if you crunch for those 6 months, the full timers are crunching too.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending cycle. You're not just gonna get the contract full time, and then you can finally rest. No, you're constantly telling your wife or husband at home, like, "Hey, everyone's here, so I gotta be here."
I know that team was working hard, man. Like I was not envious.
Yeah.
And that's an honest assessment.
And that sucks, man.
Envious.
That sucks. Like, here's a studio that can afford it, but they're not doing it. All right, let's look at a positive.
It just takes time, you know.
Analysts. This is from June 2nd recently.
Oh wow, look at that. Perfect score.
Super perfect.
Yep, perfect score.
Of course. I've been working here full time for more than a year. Some of the best benefits in the industry. Still acts like a small company, so everyone has a voice. Sure. Management, you can say what you want, but we're not gonna listen. Acknowledges hard work and shows appreciation. Only the best tech is used here. Yes. Lots of new people. Some teams are dealing with cultural rebalancing. Ever-changing product means things happen fast. It sounds like a very producer type of answer.
Well, I'll say this. I can see a non-content creator giving this 5 stars across the board, right? Because, I mean, how much Excel can you really do?
Yeah.
That's a general statement, but you get what I'm trying to say,
yeah.
Right? Like when the features that are going to be in the next week's patch aren't done yet.
Yeah.
It's the artists, engineers, animators, sound designers, whoever's responsible for those features. They're the ones who are like busting keyboards trying to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
So I could see if someone being an analyst would, and I don't know, I'm ignorant to the responsibilities and how it's done, but I could see why that role.
Numbers are up.
Yeah, I could easily see why that's
Great
a 5-star review versus somebody who I would love to hear like a character artist's perspective or another designer even.
All right, let's go to April 23rd.
Oh shit, people stay for the benefits. I'll read that one.
I've been working at Epic Games full time for more than a year. Some benefits are great. Let me find it. Oh, bam. Some benefits are great. Others are just there for show. 100% paid health insurance. Big name, big player in the video game company. There are some really cool people here. The employee events are fun. Yes. Perks.
That makes sense.
They have a really amazing summer family picnic. They pull out all the stops and really go above and beyond to make it enjoyable experience for everyone. You get a mandatory week off for Christmas and 2 weeks off in the summer.
I would rather reverse that personally. That's just me personally. I would love 2 weeks off during the time when everyone else I know and love has 2 weeks off, and then have my 1 week in the summer.
First of all, you're talking to a guy who the last 2 jobs have been unlimited vacation. So this is bullshit. Like, if you're a company like Epic, you should be having a limited vacation. It is the norm now in the tech industry.
I don't think Fortnite will see unlimited vacation because the decision makers and the content makers, in order to make sure that the
this is where the game industry is very slow, dude.
Man, the last thing they need is like, hey, so I'm the lead here, and I'm going to go on a week and a half vacation.
The mobile industry, the tech industry, right, and some savvy game companies are already moving on to unlimited vacation.
But the thing is, like, in Netflix's case, right?
Yep.
Who's expecting the next week's patch notes for Netflix? You know what I mean? Like,
well, sure. But if the mobile industry, right, our close cousin right here, right, and I worked in the mobile industry, we're talking about updates every... a product that's already out, that's already making money.
Supported.
Yeah, it's already supported. Fortnite is more like a mobile industry right now. They can afford and forecast the ability to have people on unlimited vacation. Right? They're not doing that because they're traditionally game companies. Traditional game companies are on this old 3 weeks a year type of model. It's old, dude. It's like if you can't.
But if I were them, though, I guess my concern would be this.
Yeah.
So sure, let's say we do introduce. Everyone can go on vacation whenever. But I also know that, like, I've seen what happens when we don't have content that goes out on schedule. We get a dip that may end up not necessarily costing us money, but opportunity costing us $40 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we've agreed to this cadence of, like, we want that $40 million every time. We want our 270 to actually be 310. You know what I mean? So if 2 key players have taken a vacation and it looks like we're going to miss that $40 million, that is an opportunity cost $40 million vacation that 2 people just took.
Yeah.
So in my mind, the reason why it's going to be hard for people at that company is because of opportunity cost of them being like, we, for once in our career, as Epic Games employees, I don't care how long you've been there, they have never had anything this big that they've owned at their disposal.
No, this is the biggest. This is the height of where they are.
So I think they're doing everything in their power to get every drop out of it while it's producing at this rate. And unfortunately, that means it's going to take a lot from the people.
They know the gravy train is going to stop. They're going to squeeze the shit out of it to make sure that they have the full benefit. I understand that. And that is where, as a game developer and as a gamer, I'm like, I'm on a weird crossroad with these guys because, like, is it justified? It never is, right? Your natural inclination is to say working crunch hours is not going to justify anything ever because you're basically squeezing the life out of your developers, right? So let's read one more review before we get into the Polygon.
Worst place I've ever worked. Great benefits, terrible people. I want to see terrible. Well, look, you know what? There's always approves of CEO. That is a common thing. Obviously, he got 90%, but there was disapproves of CEO, but they don't recommend.
All right, let me switch to the screen. All right, so let's do this. Worked at Epic Games for more than pros are get free pizza and ice cream every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
When you start describing food as a perk, you know what type of review it's gonna be. Full stock kitchen, lots of going for movies, nice parties, free Costco membership.
That's pretty cool.
Cons: coworkers, leads, and management are absolutely the worst. In my 10+ years of industry experience, I've never seen people actually telling the other people if person X joins their team, they will quit. There's a lot of hate between people, and there's issues embracing new people into the teams. As the mentality that just because you work at Epic, you're better than everyone else is something horrible to be proud of. Fights to become leads and fights between art directors and directors don't listen to anyone, make it really hard to be happy working here. Also, women. I've never seen a place mistreating women so poorly, from the serious sexual harassment that constantly happens daily at work to the QA girl being told she was dressing too sexy. She might be asking for it. Something needs to be done if it hasn't already.
She might be asking for it. Ooh.
Advice to management: listen to people when they give feedback on your games. Fix the infights inside the company and struggles for power.
Struggles for power, man. You want to know why? Because imagine getting like a bonus that was like twice your salary for the year. Yeah. I'm sure people want that job.
Yeah. Like we're seeing you. We know how much you guys are making every month. Yeah. Where's my piece? Oh, well, that guy in that position has that piece. All right, how do I work my way to get to that position?
Because look at the developers. The same thing that I was saying about Epic never having something like this on their hands. Look at the developers, right? As a game developer, if you see a bonus, right? Like I would say, like, congratulations, because it is so hard to sell games these days. Yeah. Let alone to be getting a bonus from the biggest selling game, the most $1 million revenues every month. Yeah. Like, the amount that they could be paying people in bonus is probably like just holy shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like World Series of Poker level bonuses
yeah.
for some of the top level guys. So I can see why it would be so competitive is because when are you going to see that again in your career as a developer?
Yeah, you're so close.
If game development is a young man's game,
yeah,
right, or woman, but if it's a young person's game, which I kind of think it is, I don't see a lot of 60-year-olds doing what they do in our industry as compared to how many 25-year-olds I see.
Yeah.
People are trying to strike.
Yeah.
People know that like they're gonna get burnt out, and they're no longer gonna be able to make money off of what they've been making their money on career-wise.
Yeah.
And what happens from that day till the rest of their life.
Yeah, man.
So getting a like $400,000 bonus, I can see why there's fighting.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment and appreciate that I don't have shitty coworkers anymore. Like the moment that I got out of that office setting, colors become brighter. the air smells better. Like it's a different type of thinking. I mean, we talk about being unchained. We talk about the fear of going into that route. But every day I wake up now, man, I'm just so thankful. Because it is a wool covering our eyes. We've been taught to kind of go into this world to get a career, get a job. And that's the only way you can live or die, right? Until you're 65. As soon as we started doing this full time, like I realized how much of a trap that becomes. Because within any game, like every game development studio that I've been through is kind of like its own colony, right? Having its own hierarchy of people that you have to, like, depending on who you are, if you're vicious, climb over and stomp to make sure you have that key position, key salary. Yeah. That is throttled, right? That is at like it's a threshold that no matter where you go, that's it. That's all you're going to make. There's no, yes, you can try to help with that with bonuses, but even with bonuses, we've been graced with life-changing bonuses. It's not anywhere near that you feel like, hey, I hit the lottery, I can retire. It's more like just enough to keep you from leaving. And that, I think, even with Fortnite, I assure you, these guys are not walking away unless you're top exec. The regulars are just having enough to have like, hey, here's a like little good chunk for the next 3 months.
If I was a shitty company owner, I would want your bonus to be just enough to make
you happy.
a big purchase for yourself that you probably would have had to save quite a lot of time for.
Yeah.
Maybe get 1 or 2 problems off your plate, but I don't want it to alleviate all your problems, because obviously if I like give you a winning lotto ticket, you might not even work at all anymore.
People will leave.
So I see why companies themselves are like it's a very tough game to be like, hey, I could give away this 10% that we've made out of $100 million to these 4 developers that helped us make it. Yeah. Which each one of them would be like,
yeah, I'm gone.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I understand why like the bonus culture is such a thing, and like I keep seeing new and newer ways that like you have to commit to the time to get the bonus. Of like, okay, here's the bonus, but it's going to be paid out in chunks, and it's only going to be this much. So you're going to have a crew to like, we're going to owe you $800,000, but we're going to give it away to you $50,000 at a time. Yeah. And if you leave, you don't get any of it.
It's bullshit.
I'm just pulling that out of my ass.
No, but it's true.
Like multiple
it's
different
true.
bonus
It's true. Yeah, it's a lot of the bonus I've had. Yeah, it's been more like cashed out in chunks.
They want you to stay.
They want you to stay. They want
They want you to keep needing the job so that you keep doing the job, so that the execs and the shareholders and whoever's invested in the company keeps getting what you actually want, which is royalties.
Right. So there's definitely a huge gap between maybe the leads getting their chunk of money, because if you're getting huge chunks of money as a lead, right, on Fortnite or any other big projects, you want to stay another 3 months to get that big. Why wouldn't you, right? Although management wise you're doing that type of work, but in the trenches it's a different story, right? So the guys that are working in the trenches, that are delivering the skins or whatever they're doing to keep Fortnite going, they're not at all close to the exec level of chunk. There's a gap. There's a huge gap. There's not even a progression of like too senior to lead, right? There's at a certain point going to be a huge gap in bonus payouts, because that is on purpose. They want to keep the grunts working, and they want to keep the leads who are making the difference happy. Because they can't lie to those guys. They can't lie to the leads of a department and be like, hey, we made $100 million, but here's just enough. It's like, fuck that shit. I'm a fucking lead on a multi-million-dollar franchise. Are you kidding me? Where is my fucking chunk? They can't pull that over your eyes. With the grunts, they say there's 1,000 of you. This is your portion. It becomes justified.
If I were a company that was like bonus, I guess I would probably do maybe a happy middle, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I know I owe you this money because I said I would pay it. And it's a bonus, so I want it to feel like a bonus. Your salary isn't reflected in the money that I'm paying you, but I also don't want you to quit. So I would probably do like whatever the bonus is, you're going to get that within 1 year.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to make you stay 5-6 years to keep getting these checks.
Right.
But it'll be 25% every quarter.
Yeah.
Just whatever the number that is.
Pretty much how stocks
happen.
It's
like you're getting a big chunk, and you know that if you quit, that 75% that's left is gone.
Yeah.
So you get the next chunk. If you quit, that 50% is gone.
That's fair.
If you quit,
I think that's a nice medium for both sides to kind of
like
be like, hey, if in a year you want to walk away with that, that's completely fine. You gave us a good last year, and we appreciate your work. Mm-hmm. But to completely like hide the algorithms to actually have to do the bonus and then the payout, it's unpredictable. Like you don't even give a front value. This is how much you're gonna get. Yeah. A lot of these bonuses are sometimes dropped the next day in your bank, right? Without knowing exactly how much you were cheated out of or whatever.
Yeah. I would want to know my transparency, and
it starts with that.
It's like, because we've been at a bonus studio before, and like I got a sizable bonus, right? Like I would never say no to free money. Yeah. But when you weigh it out, is it really free? That's a whole nother topic.
Exactly.
But essentially, what I'm getting into is like what killed me the most was that like someone behind the scenes basically will just say, I think this person gets this much. Yeah. Not, here's an agreement that we made on how bonuses and revenues will be split. Yeah. Before we even sold a copy. Yeah. Like, okay, Larry, here's how it works. You're in this tier. This percent goes to that tier, spread amongst whoever's in that tier. Yeah. Cool. So then I should be able to do the math, and 10 times out of 10, our number should match. Yeah. If even once you just like go through 300 people and you're like, oh, this is how much people get. Yeah. And then let's say you lose that data and you have to redo it again. If anyone's numbers changed at all, it's cheating. Yeah. Anyway, that's
well, you can't sign up to that.
I wouldn't sign up to that.
Commitment wise, it's hard to really put in your full effort, knowing that the system's rigged. So
if you tell me it's 10% and we only made $1 and I get 10 cents, like cool.
I'm fine with that.
If we make 10 million, I better get my 10%. Yeah. I don't want to hear anything else.
Yes. So this is an article that came out months ago. This is the article that we referenced at the beginning of the episode, saying that this came out during the times of expose articles like tearing down companies. But somehow Epic Games just was able to skirt around that and didn't really answer to it, right? They just kind of walked away unscathed. And so Fortnite's success led to months of intense crunch at Epic Games. The popularity of Fortnite is obvious, right? Epic Games has grown to become like the crazy phenomenon that it is. And it also led to months of intense crunch for Epic employees and contractors, some of whom say they felt extreme pressure to work grueling hours to maintain Fortnite's success and profitability, resulting in toxic, stressful environment at the company. And so for them not answering, for them to not even say anything publicly, this is, we got to assume, still continuing based on the recent reviews, right? A lot of it's still talking about work-life balance as an issue. I'll skip ahead here. Though some contract staff were paid overtime, developers report a culture of fear in which there was expected to pull in long hours as part of their job. Some reported suffering health issues after working consecutive months of 70-hour plus weeks. Right? Let me open the font right here. I can't really see too well. Crunch is the name given. I'm reading like a 12th grade. Can you hold down control while I scroll? Yeah, just control and yeah, there we go. Perfect. Thank you. Some, such as Game Workers Unite, are calling for game industry workers to unionize in order to protect their rights. Many workers in the industry are hired as contractors, for further limiting their rights. And that, a lot of these guys, don't be fooled to thinking that everyone's a full timer. A lot of these, they're hiring up to 1,000 people right in the past year and a half. Yeah. A lot of them are contractors. prove to us, that you want to be here. And it helps them in many ways. It's like they'll get the hours that they need to complete these, like really quick turnarounds. But also it helps kind of just like siphon out all the bad seeds, right? Bad attitudes during the process, and still get in the work. They don't have to vet through them before giving them benefits. It's like, let's use them up and throw them out if they don't continue to perform. Very dangerous. And so Epic launched Fortnite Battle Royale in September 2017 as a free game, right? Because they were brilliant. They just were able to come up with this idea, right?
If we're anticipating all this turnover at Epic from like how if churning is like their business strategy, then I would be so happy if I was Red Storm. Yeah. Because they don't even have to like advertise for jobs whatsoever. Because there's like, we're gonna pick up people.
Right, that's smart.
You know what I mean?
It's
like,
true. It's true.
Man.
All the collateral.
Oh man, I'd be so happy if I was working.
People move in North Carolina, man. Have two decisions: do I move again, or do I stick around until I find something better? And so companies around there are gonna benefit from Epic employees. Dropped onto an island. Okay, they're describing the game. Save the World was the original. Players Unknown was on the Windows PC as a competitor, right? Fortnite Battle Royale quickly became a cultural phenomenon, earning Epic millions of dollars per day, right? And funding rapid growth at the company. It is currently the most popular game in the world. That's crazy true, especially among children. That's a hard demographic to break into. Its regular updates, including new weapons and map alterations, are followed avidly by millions of players. Yes, and some of Fortnite's top streamers have become multimillionaires just by playing the game. Yeah. So Fortnite Battle Royale is part of a broad trend in gaming known as games as a service. So Polygon interviewed some current and former employees, including full-time staff managers and contractors. They signed non-disclosure agreements limiting their ability to speak openly about the company's operation. Some examples are, I work on average 70 hours per week, said one employee. There's probably at least 50 or even 100 other people at Epic working long hours. I know people who pull in 100 plus weeks, 100 hour plus weeks. The company gives us unlimited time off. Oh, okay, so they do give unlimited time off, but it's almost impossible to take the time. See, that's what I'm saying, man. It's the standard now, but it is illusion, right? Most people, when I tell them, oh, I have unlimited time, it's like, oh, yeah, because they don't really do that. It's like, no, this company does. Yeah. And it's like, what? Are you kidding me? Is you serious? Because the good tech companies realize the long-term benefits of employees and contractors being happy.
If you have a good employee, if you have somebody who's like literally contributing to the bottom line of your company, you want them to be happy. Yeah. A good employee is the first person to recognize that they have a good situation. Yeah. Right? So the last thing that they're going to do is just take 6 months off just because. Yeah. They're going to lose that ability to take 2 weeks off whenever they want. You know what I mean? Like it's unlimited vacation. I assume is not as costly as a lot of people worry about. I think if you're worried that like your employees are just going to disappear, you've probably got the wrong employees. You're forcing them to stay there versus them actually wanting to be there.
Yeah. I mean, you budget that salary aside anyways, right? It's not an extra loss on your company to give that full salary to that employee. You have deadlines for that year, and it is the employee's responsibility to make sure those deadlines are still met, even if they go on vacation. Yeah. So letting them kind of dictate that on their own. You know very fast when milestones are being missed. So overall, it kind of balances itself out, in my opinion. Yeah. If they start missing deadlines, those are red flags. Yeah. A couple of those happens, then you can get rid of that guy or gal. In most cases, those are terrible people.
It's hard for businesses to realize that their success is based on the backs of people in 2019 because everything is so instant, is so expected, right? That like you forget that, oh, Joan just had a baby, or this person is going to get married, or this person's father is going through something, or this person lost their mother. Or you are hiring people to do work, but they're still people. They still have life things that happen. Yeah. And so you can demand, expect, crunch. Like you cannot treat people like fax machines and copiers and expect that they're going to operate that way. It is always going to tax. It's always going to bite you in the ass. if anything is going to happen to you, you're going to run out of people to churn through at some point.
Yeah.
Then what?
Yeah. So going back to the article, the biggest problem is that we're patching all the time. The executives are focused on keeping Fortnite popular for as long as possible, especially with all the new competition that's coming in. A representative for Epic conceded that workers had endured extreme working hours. People are working very hard on Fortnite. I'm waiting for the P word to pop in here. And other Epic efforts, says a spokesperson in an email interview. Extreme situations such as 100-hour plus weeks are incredibly rare. And those instances, we seek to immediately remedy them to avoid reoccurrence. No, you're not. But meeting player demand and maintaining the game's momentum has forced some to endure ongoing crunch. The executives keep reacting and changing things, said the source. Everything has to be done immediately. We're not allowed to spend time on anything. If something breaks, a weapon says, then we can't just turn it off and fix it with the next patch. It has to be fixed immediately. And all the while, we're still working on next week's patch. It's brutal. I hardly sleep. I'm grumpy at home. I have no energy to go out. Getting a weekend away from work is a major achievement. If I take Saturday off, I feel guilty. I'm not being forced to work this way. But if I don't, then the job won't get done. Epic said that the sudden success of Fortnite had created difficulties, achieved a far higher level of success than we had ever anticipated. Everybody thought Epic responded to the success with incredible vigor and a commitment. The Fortnite team rapidly expanded to game to grow the audience. The Unreal Engine team began a broad effort to optimize for 60 frames per second and support 7 platforms. Others throughout the company moved to Fortnite to maintain momentum. All right. Going down, I know some people who just refused to work weekends and then we missed a deadline because their part of their package wasn't completed and they were fired. People are losing their jobs because they don't want to work these hours.
Damn.
It's true, man. Make room. I have friends come to me and say, I can't take this anymore. I have friends break down in tears. The crunch is constant. We work typically 50 to 60 hour weeks and upward to 70 hours. On occasion, if I needed to stay on, they often look at me if I was actively stupid. Officially, you don't have to keep working, but reality, stick back down and we'll be here for a while. If you did not do overtime, that was a mark against your character. Yeah, man, the peer pressure is real. All management wanted was to people who are disposable. The situation was come in and do as many hours we need you to. They put the contractors in this situation where if they don't do that overtime, they know they're not coming back. One senior guy would say, just get more bodies. That's what the contractors were called, bodies. And then we were done with them. We can just dispose them. They can be replaced with fresh people who don't have the toxic nature of being discarnate. Yeah, this is classic crunch.
Just reading that is like breaking my heart, man.
Well, I mean, this is just where it leads to, man. There is no positivity with people being and feeling overworked. It does such damage to your social life, to your going to the office, to everything, right? There is no positiveness, even with infinite money and bonuses coming through. You know, when you work on a game, that development time and you're in the office, that is from age whatever to age whatever, that is forever gone. And that is something that people need to just respect.
5 years.
5 years. It's gone, dude. It's gone.
What do you remember about yourself or your life?
If you're very smart with your money, you can actually look at your investment portfolio and see that money grow, right? But most people would just spend it, right? Most people would just spend it, and you have nothing to reflect on because you're either trying to keep up.
Bro, I paid off half my college student loans in one swipe thanks to Call of Duty. So
yeah.
I count that as a win.
Yes, but, you know, these type of issues cropping up are issues that even crunching on Fortnite doesn't sound that great, right? Even the payoff is better than most games. Surrounded by the best talents, right? At a certain point, it's an assembly line. How much can you celebrate in an assembly line, even if it is the greatest assembly line ever created? There's just a certain point of no return where you're just sacrificing.
It's so hard.
Yourself.
It's so hard to do business these days. It's so hard to be successful. You're up against so much. there's so many businesses that start and fail. There's so many careers that start and fail. Like, I understand why there's this like hyper greed / competitiveness. But then when you are in a position that you don't need to be hyper greedy, and then I still see it, it's like, it's very interesting to me that, like, I would say Fortnite makes enough money now that they can do the right thing for their employees. They could completely do the right thing and say, you know what, look, everyone's going to work 45 hours a week and we'll just commit to that. And that's a vacation. Like, even though it's more than 40, to say 45 is more than what any other regular company is expecting people to do, right? But let's even just say 40. Let's just say you're going to do 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. That's what we're going to look at. Yeah. Epic can do that. They're deciding not to. Yeah. Because, again, the opportunity cost of, but will we see, 310 million going down to 110 million now? We look at that as a loss. We're losing that money because we're not getting it. But then I ask, well, where does that money go, right? Yeah. Like, what initiatives are so important that you're willing to, like, literally kill people? Actually, I don't want to use literally that way because I was using it figuratively, but saying literally to, like, double emphasize. Right. You get what I'm saying? Like, these people are killing themselves over trying to make this extra revenue. But then how is Epic going to shut down if they don't make 310 million this month and only make 110 million this month? I don't think so. Yeah. Not even close.
No. This is just basically a low respect on talent, right? Because they are fine with a revolving door.
Companies are.
Yeah.
No company has been burnt yet.
Yes.
Like, the churn hasn't gotten to the point of no return where more people are being eaten than being created.
Right. So, like, essentially, you're getting people just making a stop to collect their bonuses.
And then get the hell out.
Yeah. And that's the culture that you're creating. And as any sane person that are working through these crunches, it's a different type of reputation, right? It used to be, I want to retire at Epic. It's like, I just want to cash in, cash out. Yeah. Because this is not sustainable.
People are fine. It's like, I don't want to use the term prostitution. Yeah. But I kind of get a feeling of that where it's like, look, I'm going to do this thing. It's going to be bad for me. It's not going to help me. It's probably going to hurt me. It's going to take a lot out of me. But I'm going to get such a significant financial opportunity that whatever happens after that, I think will be much better off had I not done this. Yeah. It hurts, man.
Yeah, it sucks.
I feel so bad. Like, I feel so bad for developers when I look down at it. I would really like to see.
We've been through that, right? Yeah. And the industry has gotten so bad where this seems like a good choice. Well, Epic, right? This is as good as it gets.
Like, hey, man, you got a job on Fortnite and you're getting bonuses. Sure, you're working like the Dickens, but
yeah,
after Fortnite is done, you'll be smooth sailing there, kid.
Yeah, and those are the choices that game developers are looking. And so most of the talent is going to Epic right now because they are accepting an application because they feel like, I don't know what the fuck is going on at Blizzard. What the hell is Valve is doing? All the greats right now are suffering right now. Riot, man, they keep grabbing ass. What do I do?
Changing of the guard, man. Like,
it's a weird era right now for very talented senior developers. Like, where else would I go, guys? If this is the best choices that we have.
Like, who are the biggest game companies 10 years ago, and then 10 years before that, and then in the infancy of games 10 years before that? Like, stuff is going to change. Like, the market, the industry is going to change, but. Man, maybe just from a macroeconomic level, the depressing feeling that I'm having right now that I'm trying to, like, come to grips with, and I won't be emo after this, but I'm probably going to be thinking a lot about this during the week, is just that, like, I see big-time company corporations just doing a lot of this type of strategy, which is every person is replaceable, outsource everything. Like, our executive staff is really who we care about, and anyone underneath us are peasants holding up the pharaoh. Yeah. We whip and whip and whip, and once their back breaks, we bring another person in to whip. It's not just the game industry. I'm seeing this actually across, like, Foxconn, iPhone stuff. We are seeing these stories everywhere. This is how business is being done now. Yeah. And obviously, you have to make fucking money. Like, there's not a lot of farmers out there who are like, well, I'm completely off the grid, because even the government doesn't want you to be off the grid. They want you to be in the system somehow, some way. Yeah. Oh man, shit needs to change, and I think that shareholders who don't give a shit about the people who make the thing. They just want their money to be bigger. Like, that attitude is really bothersome. They're like, to look at 410 and say we have, or 310 million, we have to make 310 million at all costs, right? Do we need it? No. Are we willing to not have that way? No, because who knows? 5 years from now, when we don't have Fortnite, we may only be making $3 million a year. Wouldn't you be glad we were making 310 right now?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm sad. Like, I'm legitimately sad right now.
Yeah, it's sad.
Because of what I'm reading.
This is an old article. Yeah. It's an old article that we read a few months ago during that whole kind of pointing the finger at companies needing to take responsibility. Yeah. Epic somehow skated around this. Like, there wasn't a huge backlash that we saw from other companies, which is weird. I don't know what kind of. I don't know. We need to really look into that. Why is that the case? For some, I don't know, Fortnite money. I don't know.
There's got to be a better way to do business, man.
Yeah,
and that's it. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I mean that concludes this Glassdoor confession. We never end on a happy note because we just expose or at least confirmed all the complaints, but we're always here. We're always looking at ways to improve. For game developers out there that are trapped, that feels trapped, hopefully these type of sessions kind of help you rethink what's important in your life. And I recently saw like a thing that I keep forgetting to bring up, where there was like a valedictorian speech that was being made by a student, and he spent like basically for the full year really crunching and making sure that he got those acknowledgement. And his whole speech was instead of celebrating his win or being recognized, he basically spent his whole speech saying that all this doesn't matter. I deeply regret what I did the past year to achieve the success that I've achieved, and now that I achieved it, I'm standing here before you saying that the importance of life is all the social connections, all the little times that I spent with people, and that I kind of turned my back on the last year. And I'm glad that I went through this because I'm realizing it as a senior and not when I'm 60. And man, it was deep. Because we get caught in situations like we're always working and what's the next step, but constantly ignoring the relationship that we have. But it's true, at the end of the day, when I sit down or lie down in my bed, I'm thinking about, the people around me more so than the work or anything that I'm doing selfishly, right? It's like, the friends that I make or the family connections that I make. So hopefully you guys can get something out of that. I know I did, right? I'm hoping that the leaders in our industry would help turn things around. But this episode is following our games recap, talking about Valve and Steam, and I just feel like the kings are failing us right now in our industry, which is pretty sad.
Yeah, man. Thanks everybody for watching our show. Thanks for listening to the podcast and being continued supporters of what we do. We appreciate every single listener, and I really hope for the better of the industry that the industry gets better.
All right. Talk to you guys later.